Well, good morning, and thank you for everyone that is joining today's virtual BOR COVID complaint filing process tutorial education opportunity. For those that aren't familiar, although I'm going to guess if you're joining, you are aware of what's occurring. The General Assembly passed Senate Bill 57, created a special 30-day filing period window where a property owner may challenge their 2020 appraised value of their property if that property value is impacted by COVID-19. Because this is new legislation, it's a new window, different to some extent from the traditional Board of Revision filing process. And so that is the purpose of today's session, is to answer any questions, educate as to what the process looks like and what changes a filer could expect, but always available to answer questions. In a normal Board of Revision window, the office is out at a library, community center when there isn't a pandemic, providing similar forums and functions. During the pandemic, we moved this to virtual, and so this is a update of that virtual opportunity, again, with a focus on this 30-day filing period, which opened August 3rd and ends next Thursday, September 2nd. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Susan to kind of provide her overview. But again, we look forward to any questions, feedback, thoughts, and appreciate your participation today.
Thank you, Auditor. So as the Auditor said, Senate Bill 57 did pass earlier this year, and it actually started August 3rd, excuse me, through, and it'll go through this next Thursday, September 2nd. So that's only 8 days away. So I can't stress enough to please make sure, don't wait till the last minute. Have any questions or want us to walk you through anything that we've talked about today, please reach out to us. We're here, the team's ready. The main BOR number would be 614-525-6268. I'm sorry, that's my direct number. 614-525-3913 is the direct number. You're always welcome to call me as well. So just to reiterate on the Senate bill, anyone is eligible to file for this bill. However, it's kind of, it most likely is going to benefit a commercial property, so a property that's generating income. That is usually appraised by an income approach. But like I said, however, everybody is eligible. So even a residential property, it's just the reason why we probably don't think that's going to be the best fit is because the residential market has been so strong for several years now in Franklin County. But regardless, I don't want you to be discouraged on that. So please, if you've got questions on that, give us a call. Like I said, everybody's eligible for this COVID filing. So how to file is absolutely not changed. We are going to do it the same way that we would do it during a standard filing season, and do it just like we've done, for our seasons usually start December, go through March. So we have a couple different venues that you can use to file. And of course, on our website at franklincountyauditor.com, if you go to that homepage, will take you right to the BOR button, and you can click on that, and then they'll give you a way to, that'll get you a path to go to the e-file button, or you can email it in. You could also, now that the counters are open, we opened back up recently, this late summer, so you could bring it up to the counter on the 20th floor and drop it off in person. We would stamp it, give you a copy. You could also mail us a copy. The problem is going to be is when you mail us your complaint form, I just want to stress that it needs to be postmarked by September 2nd. So if it's not postmarked timely, it would be dismissed. And I would just hate for you to put it in the mail, we not receive it till the 3rd, and then your case be dismissed on a technicality versus, listen to and based on the merits of the case. So make sure if you're going to drop it in the mail, you do that pretty soon, because you never know how long the mail is going to take. So you want to get that postmark date on there. And then of course we still can do a fax as well. Our fax is 614-525-6252. And then the e-file, I'm going to push that. That's the newest tool that we've got in our toolbox. It came out in January. It is the most efficient way to file a complaint. And the best thing about that I think is it's really user friendly. And it also, at the end, when you submit it, it will send you a confirmation email that we've received it. It will also, on that email, attach a copy of that complaint form that you filled out and submitted to us. So that's where I feel like the e-file is super important. And it just, I feel like that's just it's reassurance on both sides, right? Like we get it fast to get it, processed and get it scheduled for you. But at the same time, you're reassured that we've received it. So that being said, if you e-file, email, or fax us, of course, we will take them up till 11:59 p.m. on September 2nd. Please don't wait till then to do that. But if you do, your risk is going to be if there's any technical problems and it didn't go through until after midnight, that would be considered tardy. So I just want to make sure you're aware of the risk of, waiting until that, 11:50 minutes before, the deadline. But please, by all means, if you have any questions on any of those venues to file or would like to be walked through, personally, the team is here and we're ready to, help you for sure. COVID complaints, I just want to make sure everybody understands that to file for this special window of COVID relief, it must be based on a COVID circumstance related to COVID. So the property or economic impact needs to be because of a circumstance related to the pandemic. That being said, I don't like to normally read word for word, but I am going to read word for word what the bill says, because on line 9, where you're going to state 10, where you're going to state what the reason is of filing. It says alleged with particularity in the complaint how such a circumstance or order caused the reduction in value of the property. So that tells you, to me, that is a translation of be as specific as possible. Please make sure you include anything that you think is pertinent. And we're going to go over a few things that I think we hope to be helpful. But I just want to reiterate, the more specific you are, the better in this situation. Specifically in the bill, it says, if you would just say due to COVID or, COVID-19, it is automatically going to be dismissed. They want to know what the impact was. So that being said, that's why you want to be as specific as possible and give us all the records that you possibly think would be pertinent. I feel like too much information is not enough, right? Just keep, whatever you feel like is pertinent, please share it with us. That's always the best thing that you can do for yourself. As far as eligibility, I just wanted to review that. So for the folks out there that have done the filing before, you're usually typically allowed to file once in a 3-year period after the auditor's office has reappraised or updated the value. So this particular window is opened up special for the COVID, which means everybody's eligible. So I just wanted to go over that really quickly. So if you just filed something with us, then you can still file a COVID complaint as well. So you're still eligible. Let's say you didn't file anything in this past season, but you definitely think, I'm in the COVID window, I want to file for that. You file the COVID complaint and we hear it. You are still eligible for that one filing for the next 2 years. So basically what I'm saying is this COVID window, this 30-day window that we've had, it does not affect your filing eligibility. Everybody is able to file during this COVID window. And if there's any questions on that, by all means, give us a call. But I just don't want anybody to feel like they shouldn't file because they just filed with us this last spring. So that being said, when we were talking about being as specific as possible, I usually ask tricks for you guys, and I think we think what would make it successful. This is the best that I could come up with is what we think might be helpful, because recognize that because we're in an unprecedented time with no case law history, we don't have any foundation to go on. So therefore, that's why I think it's so important to stress you guys to be as specific as possible. But a few of those things that are pertinent would be, you want to explain what the potential impact was, maybe when the statewide order, shut down things. So a recent appraisal of the property should be dated October 1st, 2020 or forward. That would include the income approach or a discussion of how the pandemic affected your property is always great if you have that done. Probably most people don't have something like that right on their fingertips. So my other things would be your income and expense report. So if you showed like 2017 through 2019, you made this much profit, for these 3 years, and then 2020 hits and the pandemic came, and obviously you can see that you took an income loss. So those are such pertinent documents to show your profit and loss. So income and expenses, rent rolls, if you had vacancy, that's important because on the rent rolls, it would show, listen, these last 3 years, I was able to rent out. These other, this 2020, I was affected by not being able to collect, the rent. And other things would be like if you have business interruption insurance and, that kicked in for you, you could state that as well. Or any aid that you've received for, COVID. But basically what you want to do is any documentation that you think is going to help support the case of that COVID time period for your economic impact. That's why I feel like since we have no case law or basis to go on, I think the best thing we could do is, send in whatever you feel is pertinent. And I feel like then at least, you feel confident that you've shared everything that you would have. So I think that's always good to make sure that you get that in. And like I said, let it then be based on the merits. So the hearing process, after you submit the COVID complaint, we will get those scheduled. But typically when you do it through the regular BOR filing season, we would pick the most efficient path and sometimes select our mediation department as being that option. We are not going to probably have COVID complaints handled through the mediation program, specifically because we don't have any case law history or precedents to set yet. So it doesn't mean like in the future that we won't. Just right now, we need to get, we all need to experience history together, I guess, is what we're going to look at it like. So I just wanted to let you guys know, if you're familiar with mediation, it's probably not going to go down that path. But also the same rule would apply as before we schedule, the first thing we need to do is find out how much the actual request of reduction in valuation is. Excuse me. So if you are asking more than a $50,000 reduction by law, the Board of Revision must notify the school board. That rule is not changed. That still stands for the COVID window as well. So if it's greater than 50,000, we're going to notify the school board, and then they have a chance to take party to the case as well. Then we, of course, will schedule the hearings, and all hearings currently right now are being handled through virtually through Zoom. So right now, all the hearings are going through Zoom. I know everybody's pretty familiar with Zoom now, of course. But during the hearing, you'll have a chance to testify, state your case, those attachments that I've told you to attach. You can go over your income expense report, vacancies, rent rolls, anything and everything that you've submitted. That is your chance to talk to the board about that. And then once the board has made a decision, we're going to communicate that to you by an email and an actual letter in the mail. On the form, it does ask for an email address. I do absolutely encourage everybody to put an email address on there. The reason why that is a couple of years ago, the state finally acknowledged that that was a route of good service for the BOR, which means you get the notice that much faster. You get the decision, is not having to chase down the postman for the certified mail green card and sign it. So it is that much faster. We'll also send you a hard copy, in the mail just to make sure, you didn't miss an email, or, maybe it went into a junk folder or something like that. So we'll make sure that we backed it up with a hard copy as well. But an email address is always so helpful. And it is an easy way for us to communicate with you too, if we had any questions or concerns, and vice versa. So I just can't stress enough, if you put that email address I think you'll be pleased just because you will get that notice that much faster. You get the hearing notice faster, the decision faster. It's definitely the most efficient way to do that. And then, of course, typically is if the board issues a decision and you disagree with it, you can that is absolutely, the decisions are all appealable for the COVID window as well. So if you decide that you are going to appeal the decision, you would have 30 days from the date that the decision letter is sent out to you. So that hasn't changed either. That stays the same. So you can still, and of course that appeal would go to the next highest, court. You could take it to the state, to the Board of Tax Appeals, 10th District, Common Pleas, those type of things, but it is appealable as well. So I'm going to share a screen with you real quick here and just show you the form, because we have a couple frequent lines that get missed or mixed up. So on the form here, line 3 where it's highlighted, that says complainant's agent. That line is really for attorneys. So while I recognize that realtors and brokers are called agents as well, that line is really meant to be for the attorneys. So please make sure only attorneys are putting their name in line 3 if you have an attorney that you want to put on the complaint form and be notified. And then 4 and 5 are super important just for communication reasons. So phone number is always helpful just in case, we have a question for you, or we couldn't read the form, it's blurry, something like that. It's always good to have a phone number on hand. And the email address, just like I said, it does help for service, a little bit quicker service on our part to get you notified faster. And then the cardinal rule for us is 9A, which is going to be your column A. That is where you're going to put your opinion and value on what you feel it should be. That is the one box that me and my team cannot help you with. But that is the box that you feel, whatever we have it at currently right now, and you feel that COVID has affected you, that is where you want to put that value that you feel now that it should be. So that's the one thing we're not able to help with. But if you have any questions on the form, we're always glad to help. And then, of course, I just want to reiterate line 10. It says it in yellow, like I said, alleged with particularity. Particularity is the key word here. So that means be very specific. And it needs to be related to circumstances about the pandemic and the impact that it had on your property. So remember, do not just say COVID. Do not say COVID-19. Due to COVID, those are automatic dismissals, and that's why you'll want to go into more detail. So this little box looks a little small. Feel free to attach a paper. You can attach that even in e-file. You can attach a miscellaneous sheet and send it right through, anything you want, plus all your attachments. So it's not like you're just stuck with that box. Feel free, add another page on it if it makes it more clear of what you're requesting. And then last but not least, a lot of folks forget to sign their form. So just make sure you sign the form. Obviously, e-file, you're going to check a box and say that you declare everything is true. So it'll be a little different on e-file, but if you send in an actual form, you just want to make sure you get it signed. Like I said, that the most important things is don't miss the signature. Make sure you file with us by September 2nd, because we don't want it to be kicked out on a technicality. We want your cases to be heard on merit. So that's the one things that I just want to make sure to help you kind of, just to try to help you get through those little nuances, I guess. So again, my name is Susan, and the BOR team is here to help. Our direct number is 614-525-3913. And we're always glad to help. You can email us at the BOR@franklincounty.ohio.gov as well, and we can respond whichever way you feel better communicating. Auditor, I believe that sums it up for us.
I appreciate it. One question, is the deadline 11:59 on the 2nd? Is it 5 p.m.?
Yep, great question. We get that a lot too. So the deadline being September 2nd, if you're filing electronically, so e-file, fax, or email, we will take them up through 11:59. Absolutely. If you are just mailing it in or dropping it off at the counter, mailing it in, you want to make sure you have a postmark date of September 2nd. Dropping it at the counter, our counters close at 4 p.m. Then between 4 and 5, we're going to have a basket out front of the office door. We have it there currently that you can drop off at any time, of course, but that would need to be dropped off by 5 p.m. So we will monitor that basket up to 5 p.m.
Thank you for that clarification. I do want to reiterate, we have 8 days to go. We understand you may file during a football game next Thursday, but if you can avoid it, it may be in your best interest, particularly if you have any questions. So please, if anything comes up, feel free to reach out to the Board of Revisions office, 614-525-3913, or email bor@franklincounty.ohio.gov. Susan, do appreciate always your you and your teams walking through the BOR process, and in this special case, the BOR COVID complaint process. And because the party never stops in the Franklin County Auditor's Office, also want to remind anyone that's watching that in preparation for the 2023 mass appraisal, your Franklin County Auditor's Office has also sent out a survey to commercial and industrial properties currently appraised at $250,000 or more. The information provided in response to that survey helps get us prepared and proper valuations for the 2023 mass reappraisal that is required under Ohio law. Participation in the survey is voluntary, with the caveat being the information will get gathered one way or the other. So hearing it directly from the property owner is always our preference, because you know the features, impact of your property best. So again, not why we are having this forum, but also wanted to put that on property owners' radar as well. Thank you all for your participation today. We look forward to answering any and all questions. If you are filing, we look forward to that filing as well, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Thank you.